I just want to say, if you've been a LEGO Star Wars fan for any significant amount of time, what I'm going to tell you in today's video is going to challenge everything you thought you knew about LEGO Star Wars. If you've seen what's happened between LEGO and myself recently, you know I have major issues trusting the LEGO Group. But honestly, I had pretty much chalked this up to the LEGO Ambassador Network being practically incompetent at their job. As I've come to find out though, there is a lie that the LEGO Group has perpetuated, and they've allowed people like myself to perpetuate for them so that they don't have to take any flack, and for what I can only reasonably ascertain to be for their financial gain, and of course at the cost of us, the fans. LEGO Star Wars minifigures, and by extension of that, collectible minifigures as of about 2010 when LEGO started their collectible minifigure line, have always thought to have been impossible for LEGO to sell on their own. And despite incredible fan demand, it has always been a known fact that the reason LEGO can't sell these minifigures on their own is because Hasbro owns the exclusive rights to make Star Wars action figures, and hence, the LEGO minifigures have to be tied to exorbitantly more expensive LEGO sets. However, I have a truly shocking revelation for you today. The other night, I received a phone call. I was promptly told to stop what I was doing because there was a bombshell about. That bombshell? LEGO has always been able to sell Star Wars minifigures as they please. And while I cannot name the source because they prefer to be anonymous, this source is as good as it gets. This person absolutely knows what they're talking about. When I first heard this news, it was kind of like the scene in episode 5 when Darth Vader told Luke he was his father, except Darth Vader told me that LEGO's always been able to sell CMFs.
No. It's not true. That's impossible!
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Now, I have taken this news particularly hard for a couple of reasons. First off, I'm just a huge LEGO Star Wars fan. I've loved LEGO Star Wars my entire life. The last 15 years have been practically dedicated to it every day, and I just didn't want to believe that LEGO would lie to us like this, that they would tell such a bold-faced lie in our face for financial gain. And two, I pride myself on honesty. As the most influential voice in LEGO Star Wars space, I feel like I have been used to push a lie. And that really does not sit well with me, like, at all. For example, literally every time for the last decade plus that I have gotten a comment or a question or whatever about LEGO Star Wars minifigures and why can't LEGO sell these minifigures on their own, why is there no LEGO Star Wars CMF, I would of course respond to those comments and explain that Hasbro owned the rights to make Star Wars action figures and LEGO was just a victim of circumstance. I defended them for way too long. Way too long. Although I certainly don't blame myself and wouldn't expect anyone else to, because how could I have known? How could I think a company that is supposed to be so great, only the best is good enough, would just lie to us like this? It's really honestly put me through the bender here the last few days that I've had to think about it. It's been like a real tough revelation. It's like I was told 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4 anymore. So with this new worldview, I have gone back and gone through every instance that we have used to exonerate LEGO and the rationale that we have used for so many years, and especially me in my videos when I have explained many a times, this is why, and that's why they can't do it, and that's why they can't do it, and here's this example. And with this new view, after this person told me this thing, my mind was blown. I went back and I looked through everything, and it's not what it seemed. If you look back at this with the other viewpoint, that I never even thought to question this, and that's why it has blown my mind. There's no like contract out there that we can read that says, oh yeah, here it is, that Hasbro can't do it. Right here in LEGO's contract says they can't do it, but we do have access to the information that I was given the other day. Very simply, what I was told was that the reason they haven't done a LEGO Star Wars CMF or sold minifigures as they please is because they simply don't want to. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't other motives, but per the source, they simply don't want to, and they clearly don't have to because they're making tons of money off of us from buying bigger sets, and like I said, I'm not against buying the bigger sets, but I am very against being lied to. And I'll save another thing I was told for in the middle of this video. There's a very specific instance that it applies to, and I think it fits better there. LEGO Star Wars came about in 1999. So about a year prior to that, in 1998, news of this license had broke, and I found some very interesting articles from the time. And trust me, it took a lot of digging to find these things. And it goes a little something like this. Hasbro Lego owns the right to make Star Wars action figures taller than about 2 inches, in addition to die-cast vehicles, board games, electronic handheld games, and other such things as Play-Doh. Galoob, which is notably not Hasbro, owns the right to make action figures less than 2 inches in height and miniature vehicles. Star Wars minifigures, if you don't know, are 1.75 inches, which would fit in the Galoob category. Now, Galoob was then bought by Hasbro, I believe, in the same year, basically meaning all of these things belong to Hasbro. Now, the biggest takeaway in this article, however, is this sentence here from 1998. As Lego and Lucas, the person, the entity that gave Lego the license, interpret it, they don't qualify as action figures and present no conflict with the Galoob agreement. Here we have it, in 1998, that the question is solved, the problem is over. There is no qualms, ifs, ands, or buts about it right here in the article. As Lego and Lucas, very importantly here, Lucas, interpret it, because Disney obviously didn't own Star Wars then, they don't qualify as action figures. That's it. That's the writing on the wall is right there. In 1998. It's done. It's over. We've been lied to. It's right there. It's right there. So continuing along this timeline, in the year 2000, Lego released 4 minifigure packs for Lego Star Wars. Each of them contained 3 individual minifigures. They had a card back and a stand for the figure to go on. However, the story goes that Hasbro got upset about this and fought about it, and then Lego was forced to stop selling Star Wars minifigures individually right then and there. It's very peculiar when you look at this situation that people think Lego got in trouble with Hasbro and Lucasfilm for, but now you look at it and you say, hey, you didn't just make Star Wars figures in the year 2000. You did have Star Wars, so you had that, but you also had Ninja, Rock Raiders, and Town. Notably, Ninja, Rock Raiders, and Town aren't licensed themes, meaning Lego has free reign to do as they please with them. And given that the year 2000 was the first year any of the figure packs like this existed, then the year 2001 rolls around, and there aren't any Town, there aren't any Ninja, there aren't any Rock Raiders. Where did they all go? Why are there no other new themes either for these figure packs? And if you think the truth to be, oh, Hasbro stopped them from making Star Wars, then how did Hasbro stop them from making all these other figure packs? The answer is they didn't. The answer is Lego just stopped making those figure packs after a short 1-year run as Lego Store and Legoland exclusives. That's all they were. They actually weren't available in Target and Walmart and Toys R Us. That's what I found out through my research, kind of interestingly enough, side note. But Lego discontinued those figure packs as a whole, not just the Star Wars ones. If just the Star Wars ones were discontinued, there would certainly be some credence to the story, but I had never thought to question the story. I always thought the story to be true. And as I was told from the source, Lego liked the fan theory that Hasbro was the reason that Lego couldn't sell Star Wars minifigures so much that Lego just decided to run with it and use it as their scapegoat. They would just say, our license is the reason we can't sell Star Wars minifigures. So if you are to believe the story as it be, Lego would then be barred from making minifigure packs after the year 2000. And here comes April 2005. We skip forward a couple years, and here we have Lego Star Wars magnets released for the first time. Figures are standalone with no base. So unlike the 2000 pack, which at least had a base for the figure, you could say it's a collectible, whatever, these ones were just the minifigures. There was no base, there was nothing. The magnets were in the legs. And there were 3 figs to the pack, just like the, as you were to believe, banned minifig packs from the year 2000. These magnet sets were sold for 6 years like this. Although they did add a small 2x4 brick base to it at some point, you could still just remove the figure from the base. They weren't glued to anything. If selling figures on their own was such a big problem, like you were led to believe it to be, then this would not have happened for 6 years. If Hasbro was so quick to shut it down in the year 2000, why would it have taken them 6 years to shut it down from the year 2005 to 2011 while Lego was actually selling these figures in their packs? The only thing they had was magnets in their legs. Thanks to a video from Brixar here, you can see that they could still just remove the minifigure from the base, and with these new bases, the minifigure didn't have the magnet in the legs, so it was literally just the figure with the base having the magnet separately, and this went on for a few years as well. And again, if it was such a problem, Hasbro would have been on them just like they were in 2000, right? Now in December of 2010, again, 6 years. It took them 6 years to stop selling Star Wars minifigures individually disguised as magnets, like they were getting away with that for 6 years without Hasbro catching on. Yeah, right. But they put out a press release claiming, based on new requirements, The magnet base and the minifigures will have to be permanently fixed together on LEGO Star Wars magnet sets. To ensure a consistent consumer experience across all LEGO minifigure magnet sets, we have chosen to permanently fix the minifigure to the magnet base on all magnet sets moving forward from January 1st, 2011. So, this, just like in the year 2000, we look back at the year 2000, we say, oh, if they just had to stop making Star Wars ones, why did they stop making all the other ones? Well, in this case, they have a pretty good alibi or a pretty good, reason, and it's not a terrible rationale anyway to say, hey, we want everyone to have the same experience, even if it's not Star Wars. But if consumers would feel so strongly about it, why would they change it? If they clearly would prefer them not to be glued, why not just keep the Star Wars ones glued if just the Star Wars ones need to be glued? And the answer to that comes in a very interesting form from the source of mine. And wow, this answer was actually pretty crazy and does make a lot of sense from a business standpoint, but to lie about this is, again, very, very shady. So it turns out the reason they actually started gluing minifigures to the base is because during production, minifigures were continually falling to the floor. And when a minifigure would fall to the floor, they could no longer use it and had to toss it or whatever, so that was waste, and that's just not good business, obviously, to be wasting your product. And so LEGO found out, I suppose, that if they glue their figure to the base, then that will alleviate that problem. It will save them money. It's a business that makes sense. But again, lying is the key point here. They lied. Why? Why are we lying? Once again, this has been my problem with LEGO through many other things, through LAN, and here it is. It's just the whole company, it turns out. What do you know? Now, I think it gets even more interesting. I think we've only scratched the surface here. So LEGO Kuzo, which is now LEGO Ideas, but they're essentially one and the same, had a couple of LEGO Star Wars projects, and this was before they banned putting LEGO Star Wars projects on LEGO Ideas. They had a couple of projects that were very interesting to talk about here. The first one being the Dark Bucket, which was 100 stormtroopers in one set, which is obviously unrealistic to ask of LEGO anyway, but it was of course denied. And the reason they gave is that our team has done our due diligence, and due to our license, we will not release a collection consisting of almost entirely minifigures. 4 days later is the much more interesting LEGO Ideas project that was turned down, LEGO Star Wars Ultra Builds. You might say, hey, those look familiar, but the year was 2012 and they were not so familiar. Buildable figures wouldn't come about for another 3 years. When they denied the project, they said, unfortunately, due to our license, the LEGO Group is unable to produce Star Wars action figures, so we will not consider this project further. 3 years later, wouldn't you know it, LEGO Star Wars Buildable Figures hit the lineups. And so I believe in September of 2015, LEGO Star Wars Buildable Figures were finally released to the public. And so it would stand to reason that a product like this, from conception, especially because you have to have new molds for all the heads, you probably, as a completely new product lineup, have to have meetings about, is this a viable thing we can sell? Let's say 2 years. From initial idea and saying, yeah, this is something we can do, and then they of course go into the full development and doing all the stuff with building and doing all that. Is 2 years fair? So let's say mid 2013, maybe we're being generous, late 2013, they said, hey, we can do this for LEGO Star Wars. So what is different about buildable figures and ultra builds? Well, I would argue the eye test and the common sense test both say nothing. Nothing is different. These are the same thing, although LEGO claims that their license bars them from making action figures, so they can't do this as of 3 years ago, but as of 2015 they can? LEGO's obviously been able to make action figures. These two things are so contradictory, it's so obvious looking back at this. So obvious. So before we get to November 2015, we need to go back in time to a simpler time. December of 2010. A great time, I might add. I had a great time. I went into Toys R Us and I bought myself 3 or 4 of these silver stormtroopers from Toys R Us for $3 each, baby. Yes, that's right. That's right. LEGO was selling silver stormtroopers for $3 each through Toys R Us. Now, they were supposed to be a gift with purchase, but they were being sold anyway. And if selling minifigures on their own individually, like they would want you to believe, was such a big deal that they couldn't do it, then this wouldn't be happening. Then this 2010 instance where they sold the Chrome Stormtrooper through Toys R Us for $3 each wouldn't have happened. Now, you could say, hey, this was, in fact, I believe, I've collected LEGO Star Wars in a long time, the first time that this happened. And so, hey, you would say, oh, maybe, you know, they saw this, they're like, hey, we need to clean this up, make sure this doesn't happen again. Well, it kept happening. Every time after that, September 2015 being the first instance that I remember after that, although there could have been other times that figures were sold at Toys R Us, I'm not exactly sure, but the one I remember specifically buying was the Force Awakens C-3PO for $6 each at Toys R Us in September of 2015. And you would say if it was such a big deal, they would have gone to Toys R Us and said, hey, you can't do that. This is literally against our contract. We're not allowed to do this, period. Clearly, they're allowed to do it because they're allowing it to happen through a retailer. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen, period, right? Like, it's pretty obvious. And so it's happening through this retailer. They're being sold for $6. And hey, maybe it's been 5 years. Maybe it's been 5 years. Maybe they need to readdress this with Toys R Us. It happened for the next 3 years anyway. 2016, 2017, 2018. I'm sure many of you went to Toys R Us and bought figures individually. DJ for $6. C-3PO obviously for $6. The Rebel A-Wing pilot was sold at Toys R Us. The Imperial officer or something was sold at Toys R Us for $5 or $6. These figures were being sold at Toys R Us individually, and if it was such a big deal, which LEGO would want you to believe, they would have stopped it. But it wasn't, because they're allowed to. It's so clear when you know the truth now, isn't it? It's crazy. But I'm not done. There's more evidence. 2017 minifigure foil packs. If you live in America, and about half of you do, I think, of my viewership, you may be blissfully unaware of their existence. However, they are available in Europe. They cost about £4, which is about $5 US per issue. And the magazine always comes with a foil pack. Sometimes it's a fun little mini build, and sometimes it's a minifigure. This has been happening for 4 years now. If LEGO was not allowed to sell Star Wars minifigures on their own, they wouldn't be allowed to do this. I think it's pretty straightforward there. Otherwise, why wouldn't LEGO just sell us minifigures with a little comic book attached to it in America, too? It would be a pretty easy workaround, right? Because they don't need the workaround. That's just their way to get rid of their excess minifigure stock that they just have sitting in their factories over in Europe already, so they put them with a book and sell them there. And obviously, September of 2020, LEGO is selling the 20th anniversary Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's got the little stand, obviously, but if all they needed was that little stand to sell the figures, why wouldn't they have been doing that all along? It's got the little stand, and they are selling it on Lego.com, or we're selling it on Lego.com. And again, if it was such a big deal, if it was so against their terms of service with Hasbro and Disney or whatever, they wouldn't have been doing it. Now, to pile on to this, because I think it's interesting nonetheless, if you go to LEGO's official help page, they'll talk to you about replacing or buying minifigures, and they claim that unfortunately we can't sell our minifigures separately. This is just a straight up lie, because of course they can. Some of them, such as figures from Star Wars, Ninjago, Nexo Knights, or the Lego Batman movie, are licensed, which means we can't sell them individually. You may notably know that the Lego Batman movie had 2 CMF series. That's kind of interesting, but they say they're licensed and they can't sell them individually. Right here, it's right here. LEGO said it. It must be true. And let's not forget classic licensed themes like Ninjago and Nexo Knights. Licensed from who, you may ask? LEGO makes those themes. They aren't licensed. I don't know why those are written there. Clearly because they're lying. Like that's the only answer. Like, clearly because they're lying, they want you to buy the expensive sets to get the minifigures, which is a fine business model. Fine. But quit lying about it. In case you already didn't think that was bogus, because Nexo Knights and Ninjago aren't licensed, they have literal figure packs for Nexo Knights that were released. Like, why are we lying? Why? And you know what I think is fascinating about this whole thing too? I could have made this video like 2 years ago, and it would have been an incredible conspiracy theory. Like, if I had thought about it this way and looked at it this way and gone through and been like, oh, here's this is interesting, right? Maybe, maybe LEGO, maybe it's not true, but I had always believed it to be true. I thought Hasbro was the bad guy that was screwing LEGO over. Like, how could a minifigure be counted as an action figure when it's clearly not? Because it's not. And I thought LEGO, being the great gospel gods company that they are, would never lead us astray like this, and certainly not when I was a brand ambassador allow me to continue to lie to people. That would never happen, would it? Well, it happened, as it turns out. But I could have presented this as an incredible conspiracy theory that I think a lot of people could have gotten behind. But knowing that it's true is insane. Like, it would have been a conspiracy theory that some people believe. Some people would be like, yeah, that's fun, but whatever. But like, my mind is blown that this is true. Like, the source is as solid as it gets. It's unfortunate. And I think I should play the quote now, because I think it'll fit in right before I talk about what's supposedly coming in 2022. But the other day, ironically, right before I had found out about this, I was watching a documentary called Murder Among the Mormons. And within this documentary, one of the guys in there was someone that did forgery of Mormon documents and whatnot.
Anyway, that ended up going to the Treasury Department where it was pronounced genuine. In my view, if the Treasury Department pronounces it genuine, then it is genuine by definition. It's not so much what is genuine and what isn't as what people believe is genuine.
Mark said something that will give everyone pause, because essentially he said, if something seems to be true and becomes accepted as true, it becomes true. Does that mean we're all living lies?
That's pretty crazy. One, as a coincidence just with what's happened here and what I was watching the other day. And two, as like it really fits this. Like people believed it to be true. They talked about it on the internet or wherever. And Lego said, hey, yeah, that's true. We're going to push it as true. And so everyone thought it was true. And then for all intents and purposes, it was the truth. And so that leaves us where we are now in mid-2021. The heavy rumor is that in 2022, we will get a Star Wars collectible minifigure series for the first time ever. And the rationale behind this is that Hasbro's contract changed. And everyone thinks, myself included, I made multiple videos about this. I feel terrible that I made these videos now thinking what I thought. Although, I mean, you can't blame me. I can't blame myself. I gotta let go of that. But talking about, oh, Hasbro's contract changed and now Lego can do this. And what I think really happened here, and it's really interesting when you look at it through the lens of knowing the truth now and knowing the way that this worked, that Lego pushed this lie and allowed this lie to become the truth over the last 10, 15, 20 years, that now, even though it's not the truth, it is the truth. And so now the truth has gone from Hasbro's contract was stopping Lego, and now everyone thinks Hasbro's contract changed and isn't stopping Lego. And since Lego for so long claimed that they couldn't make it because of their contract or because of their license agreement, since that's what they were saying for so long, they're now stuck in that world, that is the truth, that's how they have to live. And so now that the contract in the eyes of the public opinion or truth or whatever has changed, they must now go with that narrative, that they can now make it. And so they're going to make it now. That's insane. Insane to think about, I think. And this really sucks because I feel lied to, I feel deceived, just a lot of bad feelings about this whole thing now. And it really puts a sour taste in my mouth. And you know me, I've already had my sour taste in my mouth from Lego, from the Ambassador Network crap. Like, it's just a crap show. And to see such a company-wide lie like this have been fronted for years, and like, to me, like, when I was an ambassador, whether you say or want to think I was a good ambassador or a bad one, to allow your ambassador to lie to your fans and my fans, like, that's beyond effed up to me. I just, like, why I mean, the obvious answer to why is money. Like, congratulations, you made a ton of money. Good for you guys. I'm happy. That's great capitalism business. But at the expense of lying to us, that's just effed up, and I just can't come to terms with that one. So and I already had a tough time trusting Lego, or at least the people that would talk to me to the Ambassador Network, because basically everything I was told just never came to fruition. But like I said, this wasn't just the Ambassador Network. This is now a company-wide thing. Like, I'll just never trust anything they say again, pretty bluntly. Like, you can't, I can't. I mean, hey, if you want to, go wild, do what you want. But like, I wonder how many other things like this that we've thought were true with Lego for the last however long, that just aren't, because they decided, we like that, we think that's good, we can use that as our scapegoat to make more money, and so they just did it. And like comment below, are there other things like this? I don't know. I haven't even had the time to think it over. I've been so consumed by this. I have literally, like, given my life to this, and they've just lied to us to our faces for the last 10 years. So like, that's cool. It makes me feel really good. And I think this video is going to be hard for a lot of people to watch and accept. It's hard for me to accept. It really is. And I think a lot of people are going to watch this and they're going to go, yeah, I don't want to believe it. And I know you don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe it either. But per my very, very trustworthy source, it's the very, very unfortunate truth here. And when you look at it and you look at the history of what's happened and the things like it was said, and the obvious, like the magnets, the buildable action figures, it's obvious that it's been bogus the whole time, but we had never thought for a second that they could even lie to us like this. Such a blatant, large lie. We couldn't see the whole picture. we were too close to the object. We had to back up, and if you backed up like I have, you can see the whole picture. I don't know how to end this video. I feel really down about this, obviously. I thought it was a fun one to make, though. I'll be honest, this was a real fun rabbit hole for me to go down. Very fun to research cool things about things I like, and find out a lot of them were lies the whole time by the company that I like, whether you think I like them or not, I guess. But I've liked Lego my whole life. I enjoy buying their product. I think they generally make a good product. You know, Lego has all these great brand values. I should probably add at the bottom, lie to its biggest fans and customers. That's probably a good brand value you should add publicly. Like, I didn't know it was one you had privately, but if you're gonna have it, you may as well put it out there so people at least know. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This was quite the video to make, so like would be greatly appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, because you never know when something else crazy about Lego is gonna happen, I guess. As it turns out, it can just happen on a random Thursday night.